Sketch a graph of g of x equals the absolute value of 1/3 x plus 1 as a transformation of the graph of f of x equals the absolute value of x. There are two ways that we can go about this. I'm going to go about this one way, step by step, and then I'm going to show you the other way, and I'm going to do part of it for you, and then I'm going to have you finish off the rest of it. So let's start off with our original function, f of x equals the absolute value of x. Now there's two things that are happening here. We've got this 1/3 and this 1, and so it's going to take two steps to end up with our final function, g of x equals the absolute value of 1/3 x plus 1. Now what we need to do is we need to get from here to here in two steps, where in each step we're replacing x with something. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to replace x with x plus 1. So replace x with x plus 1. What this does is it shifts the graph to the left by 1. And then once we have it like this, we can replace x with 1/3 of x. We can replace x with 1/3 of x. And that ends up giving us a horizontal stretch by 3. So we stretch horizontally by 3. And this will end up giving us our final graph. So let's go through and do these. And then I'm going to talk about a mistake that students often make, and then I'm going to show the other method. So again, I'm going to start off with the graph of f of x equals the absolute value of x, which we've seen before. And I want to go through these two different transformations one at a time. First, we're going to shift everything to the left by 1 unit. So if we take the origin and move it to the left 1 unit, that's going to go here. If we take these 3 points on the left-hand side and shift them all to the left 1, they're going to go here, here, and here. And then if we take these 3 points on the right-hand side and shift them to the left 1, they're going to go here, here, and here. So this is effectively the points that we get when we shift to the left 1 unit. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to draw this in. I don't usually draw the intermediate graphs in, but I think it's going to help in this case, because when we stretch horizontally, it might look a little weird if we just look at the individual points. All right, so let's move on to our horizontal stretch. I want to start with the points that are to the right of the y-axis. Each of these is going to get stretched horizontally by a factor of 3. So this point is 1 unit to the right of the y-axis. It's going to end up 3 units to the right of the y-axis. This point is 2 units to the right of the y-axis, so it needs to move to where it is 6 units to the right of the y-axis, which is right there. Now this point is on the y-axis. When we stretch it horizontally, it's not going to move at all, and it's going to stay right where it is. Let's look at the points now on the left-hand side of the y-axis. This point is 1 unit to the left, so when we stretch it by a factor of 3, it's going to be 3 units to the left. This point here is 2 units to the left. If we stretch that 3 times as far, it's going to end up being 6 units to the left. This point is 3 units to the left. If we stretch it 3 times as far, it's going to be 9 units to the left. And this point right here is 4 units to the left. If we stretch it 3 times as far, it's going to end up 12 units to the left. And so now we've got all of these points. We can draw the graph that goes through them, remembering that it's going to end up being a V shape. And we end up with a graph that looks like this. And this is the graph of g of x equals the absolute value of 1/3 x plus 1. Now, the mistake that students often make is they see this 1/3 on the x, and they see this 1 here, and they think, oh, we've got a 1/3 on the x, so we need to stretch horizontally by a factor of 3. And then afterwards, we're adding 1, so we need to shift to the left 1 unit. It's not going to work if we do things in that order, because remember, all of the rules that we have talk about replacing x with something else. And if we start by replacing x with 1/3 x, and then we add 1 to x, the problem with that is we start off with x. If we replace that with 1/3 x, we get 1/3 x, still inside the absolute values. And then if we replace x with x plus 1 here, that's going to be 1/3 times, instead of x, x plus 1, which is really equal to the absolute value of 1/3 x plus 1/3, which is not what we want. So you really have to be careful. The order matters here, and we've got to make sure that with each step, we're following one of the rules that we had before, like replacing x with x plus or minus a number, replacing x with x times a number, etc. Now, there is a way to get this final graph by starting with a stretch and then with a shift, but to do that, we actually have to factor out a 1/3 inside the function. So this is g of x equals 1/3 x plus 1. If inside the absolute values we factor out 1/3, this is the same third as 1/3 times x plus 3. Because 1/3 times 3 gives us the one that we need here. So if we factor out a 1/3, then we can start by taking x, replacing x with 1/3 x, and then replacing x with x plus 3. So in this case, replacing x with 1/3 x would be that stretch by 3, the horizontal stretch. But then if we want to do the shifting afterwards, we're replacing x with x plus 3. That's going to be a shift left by 3, not by 1. So what I want you to do on a separate xy plane is start with the original graph, then stretch it horizontally by a factor of 3, then shift left by 3 units, and see if you get the same final graph. You should end up with the exact same graph of g of x that we have here.